All right, in this lesson we're going to talk about the properties of rectangles. Rectangle is right underneath the parallelograms in kind of our parallelogram family tree. It has all the properties of a parallelogram and 2 additional on its own. So remember, when we are looking to remember these properties, the 6 original parallelogram properties, 2 for sides, 2 for angles, 2 for diagonals, and then for rectangle we're going to add on 2 additional. Let's review how we want to recognize the markings for parallelograms. Opposite sides are congruent is a single slash and a double slash for the second one. Opposite sides are parallel. It's going to be an arrow or a double arrow. Opposite angles are congruent is going to be for the first angle, 2 for the second angle. Diagonals that are congruent, the bisected parts of the diagonals are congruent, so every new congruent thing gets another slash. So we want to recognize those markings when we see them. So for rectangles, all rectangles are parallelograms, and they have all 6 again, like we mentioned, and they have 2 extra. So let's take a look at those. Rectangles have 4 right angles. Okay, you're probably familiar with that idea. That means each angle is 90 degrees. So we can use that when we want to calculate and solve for things. So if angle BAD is equal to 10x plus 20, well, then we can make the equation 10x plus 20 must equal 90 degrees because we know that's a right angle. And then we can solve that for x. Here, in this case, both of these angles together, they make 90 degrees, so that would be your equation. Together, add them together, they should equal 90 degrees. All right, and you can solve that. Solving for x and y, so the same thing here, we would solve this. We would say 5x plus 8 plus 3x plus 2, and that should equal 90. We'll go ahead and work this one out. Combine your like terms. We've got 8x plus 10 equals 90. Subtract 10 from both sides, and 8x will equal 80. Divide by 8, x will equal 10. Substitute that over here, so 3 times 10 plus 2 equals 32. So if this angle equals 32 degrees, we know this angle equals 32 degrees because they are alternate interior angles. So I can say 6y plus 2 equals 32 degrees, and then solve that, subtract 2, and then divide by 6. And I can solve for x and y. All right, for this picture, it wouldn't work on its own this way. We need to make an adjustment here. So we want to call this one 55 degrees. All right, and the other angle would then have to be 35 degrees because the 2 of them together equal 90, right? And if that's 35 and 55, that means this one is alternate interior, so it would be 35. This one would be 55. All right, and then since this is 110, this would be a vertical angle, so that would be 110. And now I have 2 angles out of 3, so I can say 180 minus 110 and 35, so that's 145. That's going to give me 35 degrees left for this angle. All right, if that one's 35, this one's 35. And then that one must be 55 and 55. And then all I need to figure out is this other angle, which again, we can do that because of, we could do it because of triangle sum. We could do it because of We could do it for because it's a linear pair. So that would be 180 minus 110 would give us 70 degrees for right here. And that would also be 70 because of vertical angles. All right, so that's how we can figure out all the different angle measures, and we were only given one angle. Here, the same idea. These two are alternate interiors, so that means this one must be 3x. And then these two angles make 90 degrees. So your equation would be to say 2x plus 20 plus 3x equals 90 degrees. You could solve that. You could have also gotten it because this is a triangle on its own, a right triangle, and so these two angles here would have to equal 90. So either way, that would be the equation. So I'll let you solve that, and you could substitute and figure out the angles. All right, the next property is that the diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. So in parallelogram, they were bisected, so they're still bisected, and that gives them congruency for each bisected part. But now each diagonal is the same, so therefore all four bisected parts are congruent. And what that gives us now is 4 isosceles triangles. So we've got sides that are congruent, so that means we have base angles that are congruent. And here, these base angles congruent, and then those two triangles are congruent to each other. And then these base angles would be congruent, and these base angles would be congruent. So that's what that property will do for you. All right, so in this picture, it says NL, that's the diagonal, is 26, so I know half of that would be 13. And if that half is 13, then this half is 13. Each half is all the half diagonals are going to all be equal to each other because both diagonals are equal to each other. And of course, these would be 10 because of opposite angles, and this would be 24. All right, here we know the diagonals now are congruent, so what do we do with congruent things? Same thing, make them equal to each other. So I can set up that equation, and then I can solve for x. All right, so that's it. Have a great day. We'll talk to you later.